Yeah, no worries. So my name is Rad, and I'm a technical curriculum developer for Team Trailhead. At the moment, I'm based in Salesforce Tower in the London office. Maybe I can elaborate about my job a little bit more.
Please let us know.
Yeah, so basically I'm responsible for architecting the content for instructor-led courses that Salesforce is offering to the global audience. And my major responsibilities are to help trailblazers learn and absorb new technologies and innovations from Salesforce. I often have to visit and interact with the trailblazer community. I need to also understand how they use Salesforce in order to be able to create the content in an effective manner.
Great. We've got some people who may well be new to Salesforce entirely on the line, I know, who are thinking about considering a career in Salesforce. So could you just give us a very brief introduction to what is a trailblazer? What do you consider to be a trailblazer?
Trailblazer within our ecosystem would be everybody who works with Salesforce and who is actually a pioneer in technology, who wants to understand the latest innovations and use technology to progress their career, to help everybody learn and advance.
Great, and to do that, a lot of the learning that certainly via our courses and independently, people can use Trailhead, right? Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that, just very briefly?
Yes, so Trailhead is a learning platform where everybody could start learning on their own. They would have the content explained, and afterwards they would have to answer questions, so maybe practice in an environment that we have prepared for them. Of course, they can attend instructor-led training where everything would be explained by an instructor who would be able to go with them through the content.
And so Trailhead is for everyone, from beginner all the way through to some quite high-level certifications, right?
This is right, yes.
And you yourself, do you want to tell us a little bit about your certifications and your background?
Yeah, so my background, I've been working with the Salesforce ecosystem for about 7 years now. After university, pretty much straight away, I've joined the ecosystem. My background is in physics and computer science, and after I graduated, I've joined one of the few at that time Salesforce partners in Europe. I was a Salesforce developer, and for me, this was an opportunity to learn something very intriguing at that time, very innovative. I loved the team. I loved everything they did. And the knowledge, the way they shared knowledge between themselves within the team. And of course, I was excited by the career opportunities within Salesforce.
And so would you like to talk a little bit more? We're here today because we want to talk particularly about platform developer, and for people who are interested in possibly pursuing that as a career path. Do you want to talk a little bit about the platform developer certifications specifically? For example, what they involve and how much study you need to do and what they could lead to?
Yes, so platform developer is probably our threshold for people who would like to become developers on the Salesforce platform. They would need to have some technical knowledge on the platform. And of course, if they are admins, it would be a big plus for them, as they would be able to continue building on that knowledge. If they don't have any sort of Salesforce experience, this is going to be all right, because platform developer one any training that would take would go with you through everything you would need to know to be successful. Platform developer is also probably the first stage of being able to kind of dig deep into what Salesforce is about and how you can customize and solve very complicated business problems, not only with clicks, but being able to write code, and you would actually discover the true power of this platform.
It helps you go that step further. If you're really enjoying being an admin, but maybe getting a little bit frustrated with not being able to do more with it, platform developer is the way to go.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great. And I know you're a great advocate of Salesforce Supermums, and thanks very much for being so supportive of the program that we're doing. And you're going to be involved in our platform developer course. So do you want to talk a little bit about your involvement with Supermums and why you decided to get involved with the program?
Of course. So since I've joined Salesforce, I've actually been working with platform developer as curriculum. And for me, it's always been exciting how much interest we have in this course. Everybody's very excited to take this step further. With Supermoms, I would be involved as a trainer, and I would be able to talk about different topics and to go through in more detail through certain topics during the course. Yeah, it's going to be quite exciting, as I know a lot of some of my colleagues would also take part, who are certified instructors, who would also take part in this training, and it is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, we think it's really important to make sure the training is really up to date, and there's nothing like learning from the best, and the people who are doing it now are the best at what they do. So we're really excited to have some fantastic volunteers to help Vicky, our head of training, actually deliver the content on this course. And we're really excited that people who decide to take this course with us as well will also get a mentor and a little bit of work experience as well to practically put their skills to use, which I think is a really important part of our program and something a lot of people really enjoy. So we couldn't do it without people like yourselves helping us out, so thanks very much for that. Before we move on to some more questions about you, I just want to say to everyone that you should be able to submit questions. So if you have any questions, please do write them in the little questions box that you should be able to see, and I will put them to Rads at appropriate points throughout. So please do send your questions in. She's here to answer them. So Rad, a little bit more about kind of yourself really and your role. So we are Salesforce Supermums, but we do have dads and parents on the course as well. We get some people who say they're cat parents and things like that, but just people who are looking for something new, really want to get into Salesforce, and often are looking for a bit of flexibility in their role as well. There's so many different careers that Salesforce can offer, and we really like to promote that, that it can offer a really flexible career as well. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about your day-to-day and the opportunities it's given you to, yes, be really great at Salesforce, but perhaps that work that around your life as well, and the things you like to do outside of work.
Yes, I'm actually very happy that I have this flexibility to a great extent. So my day-to-day, it's actually, I know it sounds a cliche, but it's every day Salesforce could be very different. I work in applications that we prepare for our training courses. I'm able to deliver sessions for one of our biggest events, for example, Trailhead DX or Dreamforce. Having a career in Salesforce development, and I think in general in software development, allows you to have this flexibility, and I'm really grateful to have this. And at the moment, I can plan my time. I can be disciplined enough to plan my task, so that I'm able to spend time with my family. Sometimes, when required, I could also work remotely, which is a very good perk to have. And in this way, I'm able to spend time with my family abroad. I'm able to spend time at home, work remotely, to spend time at events when I travel to see my team in the US. And yes, this is, I really appreciate having this.
Oh, great. And you mentioned there, I think it was really interesting, you mentioned about traveling to go to events and meet your team. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that, actually, because for people getting into the Salesforce ecosystem, and for a start, we use that word, and people new to Salesforce may be wondering what we mean by that. It's Salesforce ecosystem, and a word you haven't mentioned yet, which is like Ohana. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the ecosystem and Ohana, and how you found being in that world? Because I think there's lots of opportunities for support there, especially as someone who's learning. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit of your experience about the Salesforce Ohana and people and organizations who have supported you along the way.
Yes, definitely. So Salesforce Ohana, we call our family and extended family. So this would be our partners, customers, everybody who is working with the platform and learning the platform. So this would be our Ohana. And indeed, for me, the Trailblazer community has played a very big role in my career. From the very beginning, since I got my first job as a Salesforce developer, I started attending the London developer user groups, where I could network and meet people from this Ohana. I actually even was given a chance to prepare my first presentation during one of those meetups. And indeed, you learn a lot from that network, and you are able to also share your knowledge. And this is very valuable. And this is probably something that is very unique for the Salesforce ecosystem. And it helps a lot. It helps you progress. It helps you find your way. If you would like to build on your knowledge, if you would like to progress your career, if you would like to explore different paths, and it is very important to have this.
Yeah, and getting involved in part of the ecosystem can really be helpful, because I know if you're having any even little challenges that you're having, you can put it out to the community, and you'll often get the help you need back quite quickly, like on Twitter. So we're always encouraging people to, if they're not already, to get on Twitter, make sure they're following lots of Salesforce people on Twitter, including yourself. Just that's a really easy stepping stone, especially if you're not somewhere geographically that's easy to go to all the meetups. You know, there's a great online community as well, which is a really nice place to be. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. Perhaps we'll follow up with some tips of people who are useful to follow in the social media space later. I'll follow that up for everyone. We have got a couple of questions in here. I've got one here. What would you say is a good amount of experience as a Salesforce admin before considering the platform developer course?
I'll definitely say that it would vary depending on maybe your background or how often you've been able to practice your skills as an admin. But I would say that maybe a good 1 year could be enough for you to start thinking, what's the next level? And I think 1 year is also probably the time that you would say, I'm eager to learn something more, and I'm eager to expand on the skills.
Ready to move on. Do you want to mention a little bit some of the kind of topics, just not in any detail, but some high-level topics of the kind of things that are covered in platform developer, so people have an idea of what they might be looking at?
So for platform developer, one of the most important topics would be order of execution. You would have to know, for example, Visualforce pages, how to create Visualforce pages, and in general, the capability, the programming capabilities of the platform. This would be, for example, what you can do with code and what you can't do, for example, with just declarative development. And this is also something that the curriculum in platform developer would offer you. And you would be able to distinguish what exactly what are the possibilities that you can do with code, what kind of and how to start writing code.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. If anyone else has any more questions, please keep them coming in. I want to go back to your experience of studying. Have you got some top tips around, okay, if someone's taking on the platform developer course, they want to get going, they're really keen to make sure they get their cert, what are the top tips for studying and gaining their certification?
I think it's very important, first of all, to be very aware of what kind of topics you would have to know for a platform developer one. And this is something that currently you would be able to see at Trailhead and the study guide, and to see how much as a weightage each one of the topics would have in the exam. So you would, for example, also, apart from studying the study guide, you should practice. That's a very good way of learning, not just theoretical learning, but just create an environment or use a child playground where you'll be able to start doing and learning through practicing your skills.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And just, we haven't got particularly long left, so just to find out a little bit more about you for people thinking of getting into Salesforce or furthering their career, taking their next steps. What's your favourite thing about Salesforce, and why do you think it offers a really great career?
I think this is exactly what favorite thing about Salesforce is, that the variety of career opportunities that you can have within this ecosystem. For example, if you're currently an admin and you would like to become a developer, and for example, you don't know where to start, you can always find this person who would be able to navigate you. You would find mentors, you would find this knowledge, and there'll be always somebody who's been on that road, and you'll be able to give you a hand.
And if people are out there, we've got our webinar attendees here and they're thinking, oh yes, I think I'd quite like to, but I'm not really sure, what kind of advice would you give them?
As a good friend of mine says, that what's the worst that could happen? You should give it a try, and I promise you it's going to be probably one of the best decisions you've done for your career.
Okay, great. And what's your who's your favorite Trailhead character?
So my favorite Trailhead character is actually Astro. Also from the very beginning, when Astro came out, he was they were the character that was so versatile. Today they could be an astronaut, and tomorrow they could be cooking recipes with Lightning Web components. And it's something that really I like about this character. There's always something new about it.
There's always something new to learn, and that's what I really like about Salesforce as well. And I'm often talking to people who are just considering getting into it, and I always tell them, even the admin cert you do with us, it's just the beginning. It's definitely for people who like learning and like continually learning, because there's always new things to learn with Salesforce. I think I've got one more question. I'm just going to have a look at our questions if you'd just like to give me a minute. It says, Rads, you are very active on social media, especially on Twitter. How has that helped your career? Good question.
That's a very interesting question. I never actually thought, when I started my Twitter account, I never thought that this could be beneficial for my career. And most of the time, when I started, I wanted to connect with other people rather than thinking about what kind of benefit this would be. But the more I spent time on Twitter, the more I learned about, for example, what is the next thing I could do, for example, or maybe somebody interesting I could talk to. Maybe I've got a question that maybe somebody could answer. And this is just another channel and another way to network and to discover, really.
And have you got any, putting you on the spot here to think off the top of your head, but have you got any top tips on people that, you know, if people want to get more into Twitter, who are good to follow? Obviously Salesforce Supermoms, but also.
Yeah. Apart from Salesforce Supermoms, I would advise them to follow, for example, the MVPs, the group leaders, maybe even if they're not the local group leaders, they're good people to learn from. I've recently noticed that our certified Salesforce instructors also start tweeting, so they will be able to give you tips, for example, on PD1 or something in very detailed, probably that they have discovered recently. So yeah, those would be the people that they could start with.
Great, yeah, some MVPs, and we've got also people in our network like Heather J. Black, who's the founder of Salesforce Supermom. She's a great person to follow, and Vicky Henry, our head of training. She's another good person to follow, and because then you can see who they're following as well. So it's a really nice, you can just gradually build up your network. Salesforce Society magazine also has some great stuff coming out about the ecosystem in general and learning more about the ecosystem. So they're another good follow. Obviously, Salesforce Ben as well, who's always out there with lots of information. He's another great one to follow. So yeah, definitely advise you, if you're thinking about pursuing your career in Salesforce, get on social media and start following some people, because there's some really great information and links out there, and you never know who you're going to meet doing that. So yeah, great tips. Thank you very much. So is there anything to wrap up, anything you want to add to everyone out there who's thinking about becoming a PD1 developer?
I'd like to tell everyone, for example, who doesn't have experience in coding, not to be afraid, not to be scared to start. There's always like this first step, and sometimes it's very scary, but try. And it's always the learning journey could be scary, but this is just the first step. And I always compare learning coding is like learning, for example, different foreign languages. You can just follow the rules and just build on that knowledge.
That's really nice and really good to hear. I think when I'm speaking to people often who are interested in the course, they're worried they don't have a technical background, so they're not sure it's going to be for them. But I always say, as long as you're willing to learn, then it's there to be learned. So yeah, I don't come from a tech background either, but I've really enjoyed learning Salesforce. So thanks for that top tip. That's a really nice place to end, I think. Don't be scared, just take the plunge. It's a really supportive learning community. Lovely Rad, and lots of people like her as well are there to help you. So just do it.
Yes, and if everybody would like to reach to me, you can do it on Twitter or maybe LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer any more questions if you've got, or just say hello. That'd be fine. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And what's your Twitter handle?
So it's @Radi@Kova.
There you go, everyone. Get following. Hopefully, I'll have lots of new followers by the end of the day.